Hey guys, Jake's Garage here. Gonna do a little Jeep repair today. This is my dad's 2003 Grand Cherokee Laredo 4.0. Not very many miles on it. Well, probably now. 106,000 miles. So this thing has given us some problems. Has given him some problems. But one of the most... Come on, focus. What's going on? One of the biggest problems it's had that seems to not be able to go away is the idle air control valves seems to keep going bad. I don't know why. I've actually replaced the wiring and I've replaced the valves several times, and it just does not want to, I don't know, keep going. It'll be fine for like 30,000 miles, and then he'll get in, or he'll either get in and it won't start, or it'll just die on him when he comes to a stop. So there's a couple things. First of all, it does have a check engine light. And here's a little tip for anybody that's got a Chrysler, and I don't know what year range this works on. I mean, it worked on my 94 Jeep Cherokee, it's worked on my 01 Cherokee, it works on this thing. So there's a trick with Chryslers is you can actually get the trouble codes, the OBD2 codes right out of the dash here. Right off your odometer. And the way you do that is with the key in ignition. You're going to turn it on, and when I say on, I mean till where the gauges start reacting and your dash lights come on, but don't crank it. You're going to do on, off, real quick, and on the third on, you're going to leave it, and you'll see the display there. So here, we're going to give it a try. And then, I don't know, it's kind of hard to see because of the sun, but that's P0505, which is a malfunction in the idle air control circuit. And here's, I'll try to start it. It might start, it might not. Here, it's tried to start. Okay. Here's if your Jeep won't start, one of the things, your 4.0 doesn't start. Here's a quick way to kind of diagnose without that check engine light if there's a problem with the IAC. Now, with a fuel injected car, you don't give it gas. The PCM controls the injector pulses, and it does like a prime shot and gets the motor going, and then the injectors run. So the only thing your foot does is really opens up how much air comes into the motor. Now, when your IAC fails and the car won't start, it's not getting any air. The IAC, what it does is it lets air into the motor when your foot's off the gas and your throttle blade is closed. It lets a little bit of metered air in through, a little. It's like a valve. I'll show you the valve when we take it out. I'll kind of show you how that works. But anyway, so one thing you can do to kind of test the theory out is just put your foot on the gas, and I mean just a little bit. Just crack it. Just crack it open a little bit, and then try to start it. Well, turn the key on, and then a little tiny bit, and it starts right up. And most times, if you can get it running, it'll stay running. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if the vibration from the motor shakes the stuck IAC loose or what, but I took my foot off the gas and it dies. See, that's just a great indication that the IAC is frozen, probably in the shut position, and it's not going to let the car run. Foot on the gas. And it'll run okay. It'll run okay up in the RPMs. If you could keep your foot on the gas when you're coming to a stop, you could get it home. But it's tricky because every time you let your foot off, it's going to stall. Just like that. So, again, I don't know why this Jeep keeps eating them, but it's not a very hard thing to replace. So all you really have to do is pull off the top of the airbox here, and the IAC is actually on the passenger side. And once I get the airbox off, I'll show you. It's right down there. You can kind of see those right there. So they're not hard to replace, but the screws go in this way. The top screw is not a problem. The bottom screw, you usually have to have some kind of extension, and then you gotta, I'm pretty sure they're Torx, so it's just kind of a mess. So the way I do it, and I'll kind of show you in steps. I don't have a tripod with me. Take off the airbox, pull off the throttle cable and the transmission cable and the cruise control cable, unplug all the sensors, and then it's just 4 bolts to get the throttle body off. Take the whole throttle body off, and it's so much easier. Go replace the sensor on a bench or on a counter somewhere. So we're going to get started on that, and I'll try to get some shots in progress here. And kind of a funny story is I actually recorded this one time before, and I ended up not taking video in progress, so I didn't feel it was worth even posting. So I deleted the footage, and then not even a week after I deleted the footage, my dad calls me and says the Jeep's not running again. So we're gonna get it on video, because I think this problem probably plagues more people than you know, than we realize. But so anyway, let's start getting this thing apart. So one thing I forgot to say before you get started, one of the things you should do is unhook the battery. That should be, sorry, the first thing you do, disconnect the negative. You're going to want to do that anyway. It'll reset the light, it'll reset the PCM, you know, just makes it's just good to do it. This is also a good time to change your air filter. This is also going to be a good time to clean your throttle body, and I'll show you that once we get that off. But so, you know, you remove the hose clamp, pop off your air cleaner, pull that off. There's a breather hose here, and I can't remember if there's another breather hose, but there's a 10mm bolt holding that down, and there's a clamp you got to loosen right here that attaches it to the throttle body. And then you just gotta hope for the best. I mean, this clamp is super loose, so it's not the clamp. Man, I really wish I had a tripod now, or helper, one or the other. Yeah, we either broke it or we got it, or a little bit of both. The rubber boot here, you see how it's looking kind of funky? That's actually supposed to come off with the airbox, but it gets stuck. You can see how it just gets stuck from being clamped. That's what actually holds it up. There is nothing else on this box, so the box just comes off. And like I said, this rubber thing is supposed to stay, and you have to make sure that it's on there properly. You'll see once you're in it, once you're in there. So here's the throttle body, for those of you that don't know. No fuel coming in here. Fuel is handled by your fuel injectors on the fuel rail. This is only an air passage. You have your throttle and cruise cables. You have your transmission kickdown cable, right? You can see it's not that dirty. Here's your map sensor. There's a little elbow on the bottom that goes into the bottom of the throttle body to get vacuum. This is your throttle position sensor. This is what tells the computer where your foot is on the accelerator pedal. And this is your idle air control valve right here. So this thing right here is basically like a stepper, like a solenoid maybe, or a stepper. Maybe it's a stepper motor. I think it's a stepper motor. And I'll show you on the one when we take it out. But you know, this right here is a machined. There's a machined taper in there that the valve kind of interfaces with, and then right here, this slot is where it actually draws air in. Well, draws air into the throttle body area. So when that's open, it allows air to come in on the other side of the throttle body. So this is closed and sealed off. So it allows air to come in and go into the intake in order to get the car to start. So that is that's kind of how that works. I know that's kind of a shoddy explanation, but it's really not that complicated. You know, technically, it's just you got to have air and fuel. That's it. That's, you know, air, fuel, and spark. So you're just going to pop off the cables, and it's much easier to do two-handed, so I'm probably going to put you down. Unplug these 3, and then remove the 4 bolts that hold the throttle body down. And I'll pick up there in a minute when I'm done. All right. Okay, so once you get the cables off and you get all your plugs out, it's just those 4 10mm bolts, and then these things usually just lift right off. So you just remove it. Careful not to drop any screws down there because that would be bad. That's your intake. So here's your throttle body. Okay. Put it on this trash can here. That's where it belongs. So we'll take the screws out. Put them somewhere safe. Up on the cowl seems to be a good place to lose things. All right. So here's kind of what I was saying. So when this thing's in the car, this screw is easy to get to, and it is a Torx. But that one on the bottom is just a royal pain. It's a royal pain. You got to get, and it's underneath the cowl, so you got to reach in and around and get to that. And I've just dropped screws so many times. It's just not worth it. 4 bolts. This gasket right here, this throttle body gasket, you can probably just bolt that back down. Again, all it does is seals air, really, but they're $1.50. I got mine for $1.50 at Pep Boys. So for the aggravation that just saved me for $1.50, it's worth it. You can see the plug here, and this, purple, all the same color. I actually replaced the harness pretty much from here as far as I could go. It was like 18 inches of wire. What happens with these 4.0s is the exhaust manifold and the intake manifold share the exact same side of the motor, and there's holes in the intake. The exhaust manifold's right there. It's right there. So, and in my opinion, the 4.0 is one of the best motors ever. They're hard to kill, but it's just heat soak and things burn. And the way this kind of wiring harness, is right there, is right over top of the exhaust manifold. So what I did was I redid everything, and then I put this spark plug boot heat, fiberglass heat boot on there to try to combat that. And that worked until now. So I'm hoping that this is actually the problem. And I'm hoping it's not something else. So you can see the underside. So you have air that when this, hang on a second, I'll just show you the part. Okay, so here's the valve. Here's the valve. You see that pencil on the end? It's got like a taper to it. So you stick that in there, and somewhere right around here there's a seat that matches the end of that pencil. So when that pencil is all the way forward, the only way air can get in is through here. So when your foot's on the gas, this is actually closed, and you're only getting the air in through the throttle blade as far as your foot's open. As soon as you close that and your TPS reads 0, your PCM will automatically retract this a certain amount to keep the air-fuel ratio where it needs to be and keep the engine running. It's very simple concept, but a lot happens obviously to get it, to get it there. So one of the important things to do while you have this out is to actually use some carb cleaner or brake cleaner or something and clean out your throttle body. You can see how there's some, it's pretty nasty looking. It's not that bad, but because the air comes in through here, goes through that passage, and then it enters the intake through that square opening. So you want to make sure there's not stuff blocking it, and you want to make sure that it's not too gooey, because that will make the valve stick. And you can see that is actually a Chrysler part on there. And I was just telling my dad, I can't remember exactly what we did to this the last time. I think I might have actually replaced the wiring and then put the old sensor back on, and it worked. I don't know. So we're gonna play the game here. Torx, I'm not sure what size it is. Let's check. I think it's a, yeah, it's a, oh man, where's the number? T20. It's a Torque 20. So you just want to go ahead and unscrew the, it would help if I use the right sensor. T20, and use a socket or whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and take that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off and I'm going to replace it. I'm not going to be able to get video of that. I need 2 hands. And then install as a reversal of removal. I'm probably going to just scrape that off with a razor, try to clean it up, plop it back on there, plug it all back in, and I will start the next video after it's all back together. There's really no reason for me to show you going back on. It's super easy, you can see. These motors are stupid easy to work on. Worst thing to do on these motors is replace the crank sensor, which you have to do from underneath the car with a bunch of extensions because it's all the way on the back, on the very top of the motor where the bell housing is. Other than that, these things are just so easy to work on. So, all right, I'll be right back with this thing I'll put back together. All right. They don't have to be super tight. That's why I'm using a little 1/4 inch. Okay, at this point I can try to start it because this air box doesn't have an airflow sensor or anything in it. If you had a vehicle with a mass airflow sensor, you would want at least from the throttle body to the airflow sensor of the air track installed. But since this one does not have a mass airflow sensor, it uses the map sensor and the O2 sensor and some other stuff to keep running. We can fire it up. I just tried to do that all in one shot so you could, see that I'm not doing any trickery. This will be the first time I try to crank it over since I replaced it. And if it starts, great. If not, then we've got more work to do. And it still might start rough. Or not. Alright, so the next thing to do, now that we know it runs, put the airbox back together and we will take it for a test drive, let the trans and everything relearn. The trans computer, the engine computer can relearn, and we will make sure that everything's working good. Alright, we just went for a test drive. I didn't record just because I was chatting with my dad and didn't want to get into all that, but first couple starts are a little rough. We went across the street and then stopped and then shut it off and started it back up, and it didn't want to, it kind of cranked a couple times, but it's just the PCM has to relearn everything. So you can see how it starts up now. Perfect. Settles right down to the idle that's supposed to be. About, I think, 800 or 900 in neutral or in park, and then in gear down to 600, 700. So that's it. Like I said, that's a common thing, and that's one of the fixes that people will drop this off at a shop, and it's really not hard. I mean, all you need is a 10mm socket and a flathead screwdriver, and you can do that, and a Torx, but you can do this job yourself. If you get stuck somewhere, all you have to do is just keep your foot on the gas a tiny little bit, just a tiny little bit. It'll keep running. It'll run fine when you're not at a stop. It doesn't affect anything. Check engine light stayed off now, and I cannot tell you why this thing eats those sensors. My next guess, if it eats this one too, my next guess is just going to be there's a problem with that computer, with the PCM. Somehow it's burning the IACs up. I don't know. Or it could be the IAC design for this motor's junk. Who knows? So, well, that's it. I'm going to try to chop all this up into something useful for you guys, and hopefully that helps somebody out. Again, this is, to get more people out there to DIY, save yourself some money. And I'm by no means saying that you shouldn't support local businesses like your local mechanic. Those guys need to put food on the table, and they certainly know what they're doing. But some people like myself, like I'm not strapped in cash. If I can save myself a few $100s doing it myself, getting my hands dirty, I'm all for it. So if you're able to do it, just don't be afraid to get out there and work on it. This is not a hard job. Nothing on this thing is really a hard job, to be honest with you. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Remember to subscribe, like my videos, share them if you want. I appreciate all the subscriptions I've had. We're like at 8,200 at this moment. That's 3 times more than I thought I'd ever have, to be honest with you. And I know I'm never going to hit 10 million like Roman Atwood or, you know, Casey, but any of them guys. I'll be darn excited if I hit 10,000. If I hit 10,000, I might do something special. A couple, you know, I might step it up a little bit, but I appreciate all the support. So thanks for watching. I hope this helps somebody out. And if I don't put up a video between now and then, happy holidays, everybody. Take care.